Khuddaka Nikaya, the Minor Discourses, the Theragāthā, verses of the Arahant Bhikkhus. Mahānipāta, the great book of verses, the final section of the Theragāthā. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Theragāthā 70.1 Vaṅgīsa Thera, verses of the Venerable Vaṅgīsa. Despite having decided to renounce and willingly turn away from living the life of a householder, being left without a home any more, now I'm blinded and utterly defenseless, it seems, left at the mercy of these horrible and evil thoughts that have taken over and are now assailing my mind. But I know my resolve is stronger now more than ever before. For even if I were surrounded from all sides by thousands of archers, who shoot their arrows at me from every corner, I will still be standing here and never flee, fearlessly ready to receive every single one that's aimed at me. And now, even if many more women were to approach this place, I will be unshakable in my resolve, unmoved as I stand firm in the Dhamma, never to be bothered or stirred somehow by what or who it is that's right in front of me. After all, this certainty I have in me is the result of what I personally witnessed from none other than the kinsman of the sun, the Buddha himself, who showed me the guaranteed path to Nibbana Supreme. And this fact itself is enough for me to soothe my heart and give me peace. So whoever comes near me, or wherever I may be, to live in this vihara, they will find me solidly anchored and restful, no matter what I may get to see. Because by the time when I'm dead and gone, there won't be any traces of me left to be found, or to somehow try and look for the path I take in their futile attempt to locate me. The life of a bhikkhu is about freeing oneself from any and all entanglements, while getting rid of the ever-present need to build new relationships. That longing dominating the hearts of householders, who are always on the lookout for new companions and connections. But a bhikkhu is one who's already given up everything, renouncing both aversion and delight. Individuals cannot see themselves without their assets, always chained up to whatever they hear or see, and all that they come to experience or sense, allowing all these things to stir up disgust and revulsion in them. But whoever, meanwhile, remains untouched by all these, while pulling and tossing out from within the very interest in them, is declared a true sage indeed, for not clinging nor being smeared by all such things. Deeply entrenched and hopelessly stuck in their opinions, unlearned common people are bound up by more than 60 different wrong views, as they are dragged about and beaten down by their own attachment to mindless convictions that go against the Dhamma. However, the bhikkhu is one who steers clear from such fools, and never sullies his role, nor lowers himself to their level by speaking lewdly as they do. Composed, collected, and free from conceit, the Arahant dwells thus, honestly, living his life with no jealousy or envy. This because he, having stepped onto the farther shore, is truly at peace, patiently waiting for his time, especially when he is already fully released. Once, while becoming remorseful about his feelings towards his companions in the holy life, the Venerable Vaṅgīsa, in order to reignite in himself the zeal and energy for living the holy life proper, he right then and there began reciting these verses to himself. What's this conceit, O Gautama? Give it up and drop this whole comparing and contrasting, for all these prideful thoughts will only keep you stuck, leaving you in an endless turmoil of remorse brought on by all this measuring business. Due to the contemptuous drive to put others down, this generation of people goes on smearing one another, looking at ways to insult and sully others, which is why, sooner than later, drags one to the depths of hell. Once there, in the miserable realms, even though they may forget the very role of conceit they possessed in their hearts for others, which is what swiftly deposited them there into the depths of hell. Yet, remaining clueless, they go on suffering as a result for a very long time. But, on having practiced by applying himself correctly, the bhikkhu who wins the path on having entered the stream will never come back to grieve nor worry about such suffering ever again. Instead, he comes to enjoy genuine happiness he'd never tasted before, along with being rightfully recognized as a seer of truth indeed. So, open up your heart and soften it too, while igniting it with the blazing fire of effortful energy that's true, and just burn away all the hindrances by giving them up entirely. Thus, by abandoning conceit altogether, taste the purity of becoming fully cleansed, using the penetrative insight that arises from it, and totally break free as you attain true tranquility and put an end to all suffering. Your heart is consumed by a burning to taste sensual pleasures, because you've let your sannyas take charge of your mind, letting yourself open to the flurry of ceaseless perceptions, bursting through your mind, unchecked, infecting and poisoning you with agitation. So, whatever attractive signs or features you might see or witness in any way, and all that's attractive, trying to grab your attention, all that and everything that seeks to pull you away or inflame your heart, from all that, immediately turn away and drop them on the spot, without thinking twice over it. By focusing on the fact how all conditioned things are, in themselves, ultimately nothing more than suffering, and without an essence to even be called a thing. Seeing their emptiness thus, snuff out the flames of raging passions that burn inside, instead of being caught in them yet again and again, to be burning in them perpetually. So, with a mind that looks at and sees the very presence of the ugly and repulsive, and whatever it is you perceive in forms, stay intently focused and sharp, anchoring your mindfulness nowhere else other than on the body. And in no time, you'll set yourself free from ever becoming a victim again, nor get hooked or trapped due to your ever-growing disenchantment. Therefore, place your attention fully upon the signless, and give up the underlying tendency to conceit and constant measuring, because the moment you fully understand conceit and the callous role it plays in keeping you in delusion, only then will you become free and finally taste what it truly feels to be at peace. Only speak in a way that will not cause harm to either oneself or another, for such indeed is the nature of the well-spoken word. Only speak lovely and amiable words, because of which there occurs joy in the hearts of listeners, both during speech and even after. Therefore, speak words that do not cause evil or bitterness to trail behind them. Truth is the deathless word, and this itself is the eternal law. The noble ones, being established in truth themselves, declare it to be the very essence of the holy life. The words uttered by the Buddha lead one to true safety, for they are spoken from his attainment of freedom and the realization of Nibbana itself. They indeed take one to the end of all suffering. Truly, then, this is the best kind of speech. At one time, the Venerable Vaṅgīsa spoke in verse, while sharing his heartfelt words in praise of the Venerable Sariputta in his presence. With such depth and clarity of understanding, he goes on instructing. The wise one, who is an expert in identifying and pointing out what indeed is the path, while distinguishing it from all that is, in fact, not the path. Sariputta, in his vast and deep wisdom, sits with his fellow bhikkhus, carefully and lovingly teaching them the beautiful that is the Dhamma. Whether speaking and instructing in brief, or explaining the Dhamma at length in its minutest details, his melodious voice is like that of the robin bird, as he keeps inspiring the hearts of all those whose hearts flutter on hearing its lovely song. Sariputta thus goes on teaching and instructing those bhikkhus gathered with their hearts wide open. His sweet voice, as exquisite as that of a nightingale's, speaking to them gracefully, which is just perfect with its delicate clarity. Meanwhile, all pay close attention not to miss a single one of his lucid words, with hearts that are appeased so joyfully. Once, during the Uposatha, to commemorate the Bhikkhu Sangha that had come and gathered round the Blessed One, the Venerable Vaṅgīsa spoke these verses in the presence of the great teacher. Today, on this pure Uposatha's full moon of the 15th, 500 bhikkhus have all come to gather, each of whom is a true sage in his own right. Having unshackled themselves by severing off all the fetters that bind, these indeed are the ones who will never take any more births ever again. Like the wheel-turning monarch, the King of Kings wanders around his vast dominion that's bordered only by the great ocean, while accompanied by his excellent and trustworthy ministers who lovingly want to be close to him. In the same manner, those disciples who, having attained to the three higher knowledges, are now conquerors of death themselves, for they too are now assembled here, as they lovingly stay close to their Master, honoring in their quiet worship the matchless caravan leader, who, being the very first to beat and vanquish death itself, has shown to them all the path to freedom. All these sages, after all, are the sons of the Blessed One. So there's nothing of the mundane to be witnessed here. No riffraff either to be found here in this sacred gathering. As I worshipfully bow my head at the feet of the Buddha, the true kinsman of the sun, the one who showed us the path to successfully destroy the poisonous arrow of craving. Outnumbering 1,000, they have come, the bhikkhus, all here to honor the great teacher, as they worshipfully listen attentively to every single word that leaves his lips. He teaches and instructs them the Dhamma that is truly stainless and pure, showing them the way to Nibbana supreme, where no threats could ever invade the heart that is perfectly cleansed, having now finally reached true safety, with no fears to threaten from any shore. Cautious, they sit in silence, closely listening to the impeccable Dhamma, lest they may accidentally miss a single syllable, let alone a phrase, being taught to them by the one and only perfectly self-awakened Buddha, the Blessed One himself in the flesh, speaking to them as his luster shines so brilliantly, sitting at the head of the Bhikkhu Sangha. Blessed One, you are indeed the Naga Supreme, the most excellent of all sages. For just like the massively heavy cloud that brings with it life to all beings, the liberating words of your wisdom that heals keep showering down upon us all, your disciples sitting here, longing to approach and see my teacher once more. I walked away from my meditation seat today, which is why your student Vaṅgīsa has come here yet again, O matchless hero, to place his head at your blessed feet in complete veneration. On another occasion, while listing the many attributes of the Blessed One, the Venerable Vaṅgīsa weaved the following verses in the presence of the great teacher. Vanquishing the incessant tricks and misleading paths of Mara, the evil one, you never quit in your endurance, always maintaining a soft heart, despite the countless hardships you experienced along the way. Behold, the one who freed himself through his own efforts by shattering all those bonds with which beings are held captive. And now he feeds us the teaching that liberates lump by lump, making it digestible and understood, just like a loving parent nourishing his one and only child. In so many ways, you have patiently explained the very method through which one may cross the flood, by carefully showing us the path again and again. So it is no surprise to see the very many who stand on the solid ground that is the deathless, upon which they now stand firmly secured through the instructions you lovingly give. You are indeed the very light of existence, penetrating through each and every layer within its realms, where nothing could escape your all-seeing gaze. Having finally found the deathless, generously you went sharing it in all its magnificence with the original group of 5, the first of us bhikkhus, to whom you taught what you had discovered, and with so much difficulty, and with the Dhamma that is so thoroughly explained. How can one who finally comes across it possibly allow himself to become negligent or indifferent to it? For this reason, one must strive on relentlessly, never giving up until the goal is reached, pushing forward with renewed effort and with diligence that's unprecedented, while closely training according to what the Blessed One teaches, always respectful towards the great teacher every step of the way. On another occasion, the Venerable Vaṅgīsa spoke these words to capture the significance of witnessing the senior-most elder among the bhikkhus, the Venerable Candana, who came and approached the Blessed One to pay homage to the great teacher just one more time. The senior-most among us is truly here, the one who saw and understood before anyone else among us could, attaining awakening right after the Blessed Lord himself. Candana, the second in line, is brimming with his life-giving energy. He is truly a living inspiration for us all, bhikkhus, for he enters and dwells into states of deep tranquility and happiness with such ease, while living secluded, far from everyone's eyes and company. Whatever that is to be experienced and known by a disciple, following closely the advice given to him by his teacher, all that he has indeed attained fully through his own unrelenting persistency, while dedicating himself completely to the training. And now, possessing unparalleled reputation and mighty power, along with the three higher knowledges, as well as the ability to see through what's deep in people's hearts. Candana, who was the very first to see, the true heir of the Buddha indeed, now lovingly bows down, placing his head at his teacher's feet, while respectfully covering them with his gentle kisses and warm tears. At another time, the Venerable Vaṅgīsa spoke in verse, while sharing his heartfelt words in praise of the Venerable Mahamoggallana, as he began speaking fittingly inspired verses in the Blessed One's presence. The mighty Naga sits like a mountain, having gone beyond all turmoil and suffering, surrounded by his disciples, all sages themselves, who, having attained to the three knowledges, have vanquished death itself. Now they sit with gladness, while quietly paying homage to their hero. Meanwhile, with his own heart so pure and mighty, Moggallana, through his superior powers of great psychic abilities, investigates closely as he looks deep into the hearts of the many, carefully penetrating to see for himself whether they're truly freed, fully released, and left assetless indeed. Thus, each in his own way pays homage to the most excellent teacher, who's gone beyond all turmoil and suffering. Gautama, who deserves all heartfelt honorifics directed to him, for he truly is accomplished in so many ways, and beyond compare in his countless attributes. Then the Venerable Vaṅgīsa, again speaking in verse, expressed his heartfelt words in praise of the Blessed One, as he began uttering fittingly inspired verses in the teacher's presence. Just as the bright, spotless moon shines brilliantly in the clear blue darkness of the night, or the way the singular sun spreads its warm, life-giving rays as it lights up everything on its path, in the same manner, you, O Angirasa, the greatest of all sages in the entire cosmos, your dazzling beauty and luster remain unmatched, for the brilliance radiating from your figure outshines everything else there is, declaring you incomparable indeed, that's beyond any measure. On another occasion, while describing the very first time he met the teacher, the Venerable Vaṅgīsa uttered these verses. In the past, we used to wander here and there, looking for ways to lose ourselves in the exchange of verses tossed back and forth, getting intoxicated by the poetic words we uttered, as we enjoyed creatively weaving them together, with hearts that were full of conceit, floating about from town to town, inflated by getting a certain emotional rise from our words, is what we consider to be the very pinnacle of life. But then, the moment I beheld the self-awakened Buddha in the flesh, the heart became suddenly frozen in time, where deep faith was born for the first time in my heart, an experience that was unlike any other I had ever known. It was then when the teacher kept instructing and teaching me the Dhamma, explaining to me carefully the five aggregates, as well as the six sense spheres and the elements entire. On listening carefully and hearing his teaching, I couldn't help but to leave everything I knew behind, relinquishing being a layman once and for all as I went forth into homelessness. People often forget how it was for the purpose of helping countless beings that compelled the great sage to achieve awakening supreme in the first place, after having undergone such hardships in the process. And now, both bhikkhus and bhikkhunis, having crossed the flood, with certainty unequaled, stand firmly upon solid ground, which is the result of their own direct experience of what he taught to each and every one of them, one by one. The clear-sighted, all-seeing one, the Buddha of supreme vision, the kinsman of the Sun himself, in showing them the Four Noble Truths, out of compassion, has openly shared the teaching, liberating beings from suffering, from the cause and origin of suffering, revealing to them that there is in fact an end to all this suffering, but especially by showing them the very path that leads to its very cessation too, bringing about the total destruction of suffering once and for all. In this way, the great Gautama showed us the way to put an end to the continuous and ceaseless cycles of rebirth by closing the door on them, and how, at the moment when this body dies, there will be no more states of becoming to migrate to, no more future births or states of being waiting for us to be born into. For this reason, it is with certainty unmatched that I say, I know I am now utterly freed in every way. Oh, what great joy, and how lovely it is indeed, for I've arrived at the very best. The great fortune I so appreciate, having thus enjoyed, in being so close to the Buddha Supreme, where even in the very presence of the matchless teacher, I have truly attained at last the three great knowledges myself, and thereby faithfully completed my master's bidding. For I know and see each and every one of my births that I've had, and in their details too, through the divine eye that is finely purified in me. Now I, too, possess the psychic powers, along with the three higher knowledges. Thus I've become a master indeed, an expert at looking into the hearts of beings, to see clearly whatever they go on hiding there in the deep. Once, inquiring about the state of his late teacher, the Venerable Vaṅgīsa approached the Blessed One, and by arranging his upper robe on one shoulder, with clasped hands in front of his heart directed towards the Blessed One, he began asking his question through these verses. We ask the great teacher of incomparable wisdom, who here and now dispels all uncertainties and doubts from our hearts. A well-known and famous bhikkhu from Aggalava has recently died, believed to have attained final Nibbana. His name was Nigrodhakappa, a name that you chose to that Brahmin, O blessed Lord, during his ordination. He wandered and lived by venerating you with utmost respect, while his one single aim was always longing for freedom, which he pursued with persistent effort and firm resolve, in order to see for himself the Dhamma that is true. Therefore, we, the disciples of the Sakyan, have all come to listen, desiring to know about that disciple, from the very lips of the all-seeing one himself. May the words of our most unsurpassed teacher reach our eagerly awaiting ears, much like the cool, refreshing rain reaches the dry and scorched earth. Speak to us and dispel our doubts, O wise one, as you reveal to us whether he closed his eyes for the last time without ever taking rebirth anywhere again, or whether he still is waiting to experience final Nibbana. Kindly declare this to us, O great teacher, while you sit in the middle of this congregation, seeing all things like Sakka sitting amongst the Devas, who sees all things with his 1,000 eyes. In the presence of the Tathagata, all shackles disappear, as all deluded ways of thinking, doubts, and uncertainties about anything simply vanish without a trace. This because his penetrating vision surpasses all others. For if no man could destroy the defilements, much like the strong wind pushes its way through dense clouds, scattering them out of its way, then this entire world would remain shrouded in thick darkness, and this humanity would have no hope or possibility for any brilliant individual within its midst to ever rise above it nor shine through. But the wise ones are our sources of light, and that is exactly what you are to me, O my hero. Therefore, we have come here to this congregation for you to reveal to us, through your own insight and knowledge, as to the truth about Kapayana's destination. Release your lovely, lovely voice for all to hear, as you speak to us like the swan that stretches out its slender neck and begins to sing its melodiously beautiful song. Meanwhile, we're all ears, eagerly awaiting and fully alert for all that you reveal. Having thrown aside birth and death altogether, destroying them completely without any remainder, he now rests fully restrained in his purity. O wise one, we beseech you to speak the Dhamma. For although those dense beings with their hearts closed shut have no one to grant them their wishes, we, on the other hand, find our heart's desires fulfilled in the presence of the Tathagata. In whatever manner you explain it to us, with the depth of your unmatched wisdom and perfect understanding, all that we fully accept. Therefore, with these clasped hands in front of my heart, I again implore the incomparable knower of all things, please do not keep us in the darkness of not knowing the truth. for which we have come to seek an answer. You who know the noble Dhamma inside out, from top to bottom, having fully penetrated it yourself, O hero who vanquished delusion, I stand before you much like those who stand in the scorching heat, eager to receive the life-giving water to quench their thirst. So, let the refreshing rain of your sweet voice come down and soothe the burning in my heart. Tell us, Master, how has Kapayana fared on? Was he able to live the holy life in full? Please tell us his efforts were not in vain. Did he attain to freedom by realizing final release? Or did he really close his eyes, but with a heart that had residues remaining? Do share with us how he attained to Nibbana Supreme. Then the Blessed One replied to the Venerable Vaṅgīsa's question by speaking these verses. He has indeed cut off the craving for name and form here in this very last birth, for he has crossed over the evil stream that is Mara's domain, something he had battled with in his heart for many eons indeed. Your teacher has now passed beyond all birth and death without any residues remaining. In this manner the Buddha spoke, the foremost teacher of the five. Now, in hearing your sweet voice, O best of all seers, my heart is full of happiness and joy. Truly my question was not in vain, for it proved itself to be fruitful indeed. I now can finally rest, knowing the truth about my dear preceptor, the Brahmin, who spoke to me what is true. So, in whichever way Kapayana, the disciple of the Blessed One, spoke, so he behaved. As such, he cut straight through the strong and sticky net laid out before him by death, that crafty deceiver, crossing it and going beyond it completely. Kapayana, O blessed Lord, seeing the very edge of the desire to grab, was able to cut himself loose and be fully released, thoroughly going beyond the domains of death, so difficult to cross. Lord and Master of the highest of gods, it is to your feet that I place my head and bow, as I also do to your dear son, my late teacher, who followed closely in your footsteps, by living up to the example of his own teacher, the great and matchless hero. Truly your son, Nigrodha was a Naga, born from your very own Buddha heart. O foremost Naga of all Nagas, my incomparable Lord and Master. These were the verses spoken by the Venerable Vaṅgīsa. And here ends the Theragāthā, verses of the elder Bhikkhus. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.